Okay, so it's Gavin and Steven here. We're just down at the court. I just paid my, $1,186 of free speech extortion fees, and I got to go on my electronic home monitoring, so at least I get caged in my house instead of in an iron cell. Basically, can we just kind of recap real quick? The appeal, essentially they canceled the appeal because they refused to comply with the rule of law. They wouldn't give us the proper paperwork, and as such, we couldn't even make an argument. So the appeal just pretty much went away magically with the strings of government, and then we're back here at district court, basically short of throwing tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawless courtrooms that don't comply with the rule of law or the Constitution in the first place. So where are we at, Stephen?
Well, I think we had a favorable recovery here today with Judge McMahon, who agreed that in fact the sentence has to agree with the verdict.
They were trying to change that too.
It's a very critical point, and oftentimes it's something that is overlooked in many, many cases, particularly in the criminal law or in the family law, where you have a verdict that comes down from a judge at trial or following trial, and then that verdict is then vitiated with what is subsequently signed. And oftentimes what is subsequently signed has add-ons or inappropriate remarks, or sometimes even totally contrary rules that were not adjudicated by the trial judge.
But now we're in a state where we're walking away thankful just that we don't get beat to death or given extra time. I mean, instead of actually getting victory for justice, we're having to walk away thankful that we didn't get abused more than we did.
Well, there is a question that in these kinds of rights of trial, what happens when you lose? And this is a question that goes to the body politic in general. What happens when you lose? What happens when you spend so much time talking about how many angels you can get on the head of a pin rather than taking substantive matters to ensure that you have the rule of law in place in your own jurisdiction? And for those voters who are lackadaisical and who really don't take the time to really ensure that justice is going to prevail in their courtrooms, then you are going to be assured that you're not going to get justice under those instances. And anybody who thinks that, somebody should put this person in jail and throw away the key, I remind you that we have over 7 million people in prison in this country, the largest prison population in the world, and that's not a per capita basis. That is a hard number basis. More people are being thrown in jail all the time and being convicted because we have laws that convict virtually every kind of human behavior. And so the fact of the matter is, for jurors who think that by being obeisant to the state when they sit on the jury panel, instead of adjudicating the facts before them, somehow thinking that when it's their turn to be in front of that same adjudicator that they're going to get mercy, they're simply incorrect.
So what do? We got God's law, we got natural law, we got the Constitution. It's totally ignored, for the most part, it seems like, in courtrooms, by government. And people, there's still this mindset. I feel like there's a mindset in America among patriots, oh, it's all right because I'll get a trial before a jury of my peers and then I'll get justice. But people aren't getting justice, especially people that are constitutionalists, that are Christians. They're not getting justice in the courtroom. People that have principles and values. It seems like the rule of law is gone. Where are we now?
Well, the system is such that once the police officer has made the arresting decision, for all intents and purposes, you're convicted.
Yeah.
There is no presumption of innocence. If you've been arrested, there's a presumption of guilt. If you walk into a courtroom as a defendant and a jury sees you as a defendant, there's a presumption of guilt. There is no ethos among the population that there is a presumption of innocence, because the average American has no understanding of the Constitution, no understanding of the fundamentals of due process, and what little understanding is there has been overthrown by a system that is primarily motivated by making its budget rather than ensuring justice.
So long story short, don't assume you can get justice in a courtroom. At this point, it's probably going to have to be restored from the ground up, and what we have left is the appeal to heaven.
Well, we have an appeal to heaven at all material times.
Right.
But the truth is what we do here on earth, and what we do here on earth, I believe we are called to be light and salt. I believe we are called to occupy with good governance and to occupy with really what is the standard of righteousness. I mean, we are called to be righteous. The scripture says, be holy for I am holy. And what does that mean? What does that righteousness mean? It means that there is a call to a natural law which exceeds the law that is promulgated by the state. The state has a duty, in my opinion, to make sure that its laws comport with natural law, not violate those laws. Right now, we live in a state where virtually all of the natural laws are being violated, where good is called evil and evil is called good. Therefore, when you walk into a courtroom that is operating under that body of law, how do you expect to obtain a verdict that comports with natural law when the law that is enshrined and the law that is codified calls evil good and good evil?
Well, and we just seen the results of that. So I guess we just keep fighting, standing on principle, and doing the best we can.
Well, as I mentioned in the courtroom, Gavin, you gave a pretty vitriolic discussion in front of the trial judge during Tel Shastine's trial.
Maybe if we had more of those, we'd have the rule of law.
But between me and you, I have seen many lawyers who have made arguments at least as vitriolic in the heat of the moment.
But they play the game.
But some of them end up in jail for contempt for 30 days. So just consider it part of the system.
Well, and they probably get away with it more because they're a member of the club.
Maybe some do, some don't.
Yeah. Well, hopefully someday we'll have the rule of law again. All right. Thank you, Steve.
And I want to thank you, Gavin, for standing up for the things you have.
Likewise.